Welcome to episode 2 of the weekly security nerd out. Today, we're going to talk about software supply chain attacks. So, what is that? Well, it's fairly simple in the concept, but more difficult for an attacker to try to execute. So, when we're talking about this, it's really when a threat actor compromises a software vendor's network and then gets access to their code where they modify that, specifically adding some type of malicious code into the software. When a customer or a user of that vendor goes to download and install or just use that software, then their systems potentially become infected, which then allows the attacker to get access to that system, specifically the customer or that user system. I like to refer to these as a one to many style attack because when done properly, the attackers can target one single environment and then from there they infect hundreds, maybe thousands of different environments. When you think of something like a SolarWinds, that's a really good example of a software supply chain compromise. Now, more recently, we have a case study that we're going to dig into with a company called Com100. Now, this is a company where it's a customer engagement platform that provides chatbot services for websites. And in particular, what we saw was that they got into the environment, they modified a desktop agent, and then they were able to infect other systems. So let's dig into it and really look at this. Now, we have a very simplified view of what the COM100 network looks like. You can imagine there's tons and tons of servers, a lot of different workstations and laptops, but for our case, we're just going to simplify this down to two particular systems that the attacker likely would have gone after, one of them being a development server, another one being the company website. So we've got our baseline for this environment. Then we've got our hacker. This is the attacker that is going to be trying to go out and target Com100's network and execute this supply chain attack. So we're going to presume here that the attacker did what they needed to do. They got into the environment. This can be a variety of different ways. We're going to just put that to the side for now and really dig into what happens after they get access into the environment. So they're going to go after a development server and they're going to look to try to get access to the code base. From there, they injected or inserted some malicious code that allowed them to get access into whoever installed this installer. So from there, we know that the code was modified. It allowed the attacker to install some backdoors, and then from that standpoint, that is then going to get pushed over to the company website so that when a user is going to go and download the software, it's going to include the attacker's code. So let's just assume here that we have a bunch of different companies all over the world and users within them who are a customer of Com100 say, hey, I got to download this desktop version of this software so that I can work through it. And they're going to connect to the company website and they're going to download a malicious version of this installer. When they go to install that software on their system, it's going to install the malicious version of it, the one with the attacker's code inserted into it. So now we have all of these companies who have downloaded that malicious copy, and now their systems are getting infected with the attacker's backdoor. That backdoor is designed to connect to a command and control server. This is essentially just a server that the attacker sets up that they control. The malware, the backdoor on those victim systems are going to connect back to it, and that allows the attacker the ability to interact with them. So the attacker then goes in, they connect to their command and control server, and then that then gives them the ability to connect into those victim companies. So you can see how this is going to be a one to many style attack because by compromising just the Com100 network, modifying that code and having just through the normal course of business people downloading those executables to install on their own system thinking that it's a legitimate copy of it, that then infects those systems and the attacker gets access to a ton more systems that are available to them. So this is a pretty classic example of what can happen with a supply chain attack. And it's fairly common now. Let's not say fairly common. We'll say it's becoming more common because attackers are seeing exactly how they can do this. I say that it's a harder style attack because typically it's a little bit more complicated. Sometimes companies will put some more defenses around their development environment. If you're not, you definitely should. And so it's a little bit more tricky for the attacker to try to execute. But as you can see, the payoff is much better because they can attack one company and they get access to everything. So that's it for today. If you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. We're doing this on a weekly basis, and we'll see where it goes next week.